Joining us now is White House Office of Management and Budget Director Mick Mulvaney. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
We are just 2 days away from President Trump's 100th day in office. In your view, what are his biggest accomplishments? What have been the biggest challenges?
Accomplishments. You know, every time I get that question a lot, I've been trying to sort of go over in my head, should I pick out regulatory reform first? Should I pick out, trade? Should I pick out Justice Gorsuch? And really what I keep settling on is optimism. The consumer confidence is high. Business confidence is high. The stock markets, which are sort of bellwethers of whether people think the country's going in the right direction, is up. And I think what you're seeing is just sort of a regrowth of optimism about the way the country is headed. Even if folks who don't like the president, maybe didn't vote for him, still think, you know what, maybe some of his policies make sense and maybe things are going to be better in the next couple of years. And I think that's a tremendous accomplishment for any president in the first 100 days.
Well, yesterday the White House unveiled a very ambitious tax reform plan and massive tax cuts. There are critics who say America is drowning in debt. Tax cuts are going to make it soar even higher. How is this administration going to keep the huge cuts from ballooning the federal deficit?
A couple different answers to that. First of all, as we actually get closer to a final proposal, we'll start looking at the impacts of economic growth. One of the things we wanted to do with the proposals we rolled out yesterday is get America growing again. If you're 30 years old, you've probably never had a job in your adult lifetime in a growing American economy. The economy has grown at less than 2% for the last 10 years. When I was a young man, 3% growth was fairly ordinary. That doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but it really is. If I was a young man, if you got laid off, it was easy to find another job. If you wanted to quit your job, you could start another business. That's what 3% growth does in an economy of this size, and that's what we're trying to get back to. And when you do that, government takes in more money. But regarding the specifics where we are right now, we've not, on purpose, we've not gone into too much specifics, not because we're trying to hide any numbers, just because what we did yesterday was an invitation to start the discussions with the House and the Senate. We didn't want to pre-cook a bill. We didn't want to be perceived as forcing something down their throats. We said, look, here's the principles, here's the guidelines, here's the numbers we want to talk about. Let's start the discussion with the Hill.
You are Catholic. And you've talked about your meeting with Pope Francis when he challenged American lawmakers to protect persecuted Christians. I was just in Iraq. I returned. I know it greatly impacted you. It greatly impacted me. And President Trump told us, EWTN News Nightly today, that he is committed to helping Christians. So I'm curious for you, do you believe that there will be an aid package for persecuted Christians? How important is it?
I don't know what our assistance will look like, but I do know, because I know about things I can't talk about on the air, that there are steps underway right now to address this. There's meetings that have taken place, meetings that will continue to take place. This is a much bigger priority to the president. I think we talk about generally, most because we're talking about other things. But no one can look at what's happening to Christians and other religious minorities in the Middle East and not think, no, wait a second, this has got to stop. Do we have the ability to impact the outcomes? And I think we do. So I'm satisfied the president is taking it absolutely seriously.
Excellent. I'm going to be testifying in front of a House committee showing my video from Iraq. You have to see it. It is just absolutely jaw-dropping. Beheadings of the Statue of Mary, bullet holes in the cross. One last question before we go. Your faith, and how does that impact your work?
I probably couldn't do it without my faith. I was here, I think, 8 or 9 consecutive Sundays working. OMB is part of the government that works all the time. We work 12, 14, 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I think I've been home 5 days in the last 70. But there's St. Matt's Cathedral is probably just a 15-minute walk from here. So having that sort of outpost, that oasis here in Washington, D.C. has been a big deal. There's also the Catholic Information Center that I like to go to during the week from time to time. It's getting harder to do as more people know who I am. It's, I like to go and quietly sit in the back, but it's nice.
And then it's Mick, right?
Yeah, Mr. Mulvaney, it's interesting to do the Sunday morning talk shows and then get dropped off at the cathedral and have people see you in the same suit, but that's fine.
Right, that's all right. You know, I was talking to Sean Spicer, press secretary, and he said the same thing, exactly the same thing. It comes off the Sunday shows, goes to Mass. is.
In fact, I hope I have time to tell the quick story. He was telling me that he was at Mass shortly after he got here, and nobody knew who he was until they came time to give the sign of peace, and everybody around him said, "Oh, you're Sean Spicer. You're Sean Spicer." Wanted to get. So like the next week, I'm at Mass at the cathedral. I think it was a Saturday 5:30 Mass, and during the sign of peace, I turn around and Sean Spicer sitting right behind me at Mass.
And you say,
said,
"Oh, you're Sean Spicer."
Yeah, that was fun.
That's great. Fabulous. Well, I hope this is one of many conversations that we can have. I'd love to show you this video. Thank you so much for joining us, OMB Director Mick Mulvaney.
Thanks, Lauren.